Good afternoon, everybody. I'm back. If it's only just for 1 week, still getting the work done, but we're getting there slowly but surely while I'm wearing the mask. And thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your time to not only watch today, which is a special salute to veterans, and we have a whole host of people, a whole living room full of people going to be joining us to talk about veterans and veterans affairs and the benefits coming from the Elks organization, which you see the banner behind me. I'm very privileged to be connected with this organization, and I love what they do so much. And we have two wonderful people from there, and I'll introduce them to you in just a little bit. But I want to thank you all so very much for watching when Jeffrey Mark is filling in for me, and he will for the next couple of weeks. And then I will have everything straightened out, and I will be back at you full speed ahead with shows as I always have had. Today's show is a very interesting show. It's about veterans. Veterans Day is next Friday. And for those of you that know me, you know that I am a veteran. I have a soft spot in my heart for veterans, no matter who they are, no matter what war they served in, what battle they did, no matter what is going on. And I want to talk about them today. There's not enough time in a day to talk about what we can do for our veterans out there. But there's one thing that I would like to read to all of you, and I have it here somewhere. I know I do. Oh, this was written by J.M. Storm, and now that could not be his real name. And this is sort of the truth. And the truth is that all veterans pay with their lives. Some pay at once, while others pay over a lifetime. And I think that that's something that needs to be remembered, that just because the war is over, the battle is over, that veterans still don't suffer, don't have problems. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about how we can possibly help. We have a beautiful young lady on from South Florida who has a daycare facility that takes care of and helps veterans, feeds them, lets them go through activities. We're going to talk about how you get with that. So without further ado, you don't need to hear me talk all day long. Let's bring on the crew. Everybody come on board. There we go. There's Rick Gathen for me. There we go. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. Slowly but surely. All right, let me introduce everybody, if I could, please. Ladies first. Miss Mary Morgan. Mary is Mary. Where is this? Oh, Mary Morgan is the director of National Veterans Services for the Elks in Chicago, Illinois. We also have from a lodge 1676 in Miami-Dade. Now I'm going to murder her name again. Kat, you want to pronounce your name for me?
Yeah, Katiria.
Katiria Delisle, the administrator of, and boy, this is all in Spanish, so I can't get this.
La Edad Prodigiosa.
Which is a daycare facility for elderly people, and it's also now your VA approved, and we're going to talk about that very, very much. Also, Mr. Rick Gathen joins us. He's a membership and marketing manager out of Chicago, Illinois for the Elks. Also joining us is Captain Fred Jaca, who was a member of the United States Army and an Army Airborne Ranger during the Vietnam War. And also joining us, Mr. Rick Del Vecchio, although I don't see him. Oh, there he is. He's kind of there. Rick Del Vecchio was also a member of Lodge 1676, as well as the captain. Rick is a trustee of that lodge. Thank you all very much for taking the time to join us this afternoon as we talk about a very important thing, and that's the veterans. Before we get into the discussion here, I want to go around the table, as it were. When you think about Memorial Day, you think about Veterans Day, Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, etc., and you think about the freedoms that we have that the veterans have given us over the years, and the name veterans comes up. What do you think of right away? Mary, what comes into your mind when you hear the word veteran and you think about these holidays?
Right. I consider myself lucky enough to know so many veterans, and within the Elks, a large majority of our volunteers are veterans as well. So I think of people who, have a real tie to service and dedication and sacrifice. And I feel a debt of gratitude that I work every day with the Elks to repay.
Rick Del Vecchio?
Yeah, veterans, obviously, I never served. So I really feel obligated to give back as much as I can to help the veterans and honor them. Great news. Just today, I got authorization that the Elks approved our grant, the Beacon Grant, Spotlight Grant for $5,500. So Fred and I, along with Katiria, are going to be putting on events between now and Christmas to help the veterans and get them some much needed supplies. So that's great.
Oh, that's
And
great.
last-
We can
last-
talk about that.
Yeah, last year we got $20,000 toward the end of the year that went into March. It was really great. So I'm excited about that. And Memorial Day, of course, remember all the veterans that are no longer with us. I think everybody here has relatives who are gone. My father served in the Marine Corps 8 years in World War II in Korea and died in '58 from cancer. That, right? So I was 6 when he died. My stepdad, he passed away a few years ago. He was 94 and he served in World War II also. So, remember the folks that are no longer with us on Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Thank every veteran you see for this.
So, do you have your earplugs?
Criteria. What about you?
Katiria.
Katiria.
It's okay. It's okay. I mean,
I went to the U.
It's okay. It's okay. Gratitude. I mean, coming from a foreign country, I definitely feel gratitude towards veterans. Thanks to them, I'm able to live my freedom here in this country. So,
Rick, Gathen.
I think the word sacrifice that everybody's mentioned it stands out. But respect, patriotism, there's everything we can do. When we say sacrifice, it is a lifelong sacrifice. You had mentioned it wasn't just the time in the military. It's something that they live with throughout their entire lives, and it brings a lot of them closer. But they're always giving something. A piece of the military stays with them until they pass on. So it's something we shall never forget and continue to support our veterans in every way possible. They've given so much.
And Captain Fred, I know you served as I did. So think about the men who you served with and the women. What are these different holidays and Veterans Day, Memorial Day? What does it mean to you?
Well, to be honest with you, a veteran is a warrior. And the definition of a warrior is someone that gets something done. There's people that when you go through life, you ask yourself, have I made an accomplishment or have I made any significance to around me? A veteran doesn't have to worry about that because he has made a significant difference. And, we talk about the honorable duties that they do and the ones that you call heroes. The only true heroes, ones that never came back, but the others still faced with it every single day. I can attest to that.
Yeah. Speaking of which, and I want to get the criteria right away. I really do, because this is so very important. Katiria runs a daycare facility in South Dade County, and it's for civilians as well. But now she's been VA approved to be able to assist veterans every way humanly possible. And I wanted you and Mary to meet because I want somehow to be a connection there with Mary up in Chicago and everything, and being part of Veterans Affairs. How does someone apply to be able to use your facility? I know it has to go through the VA. So
yes.
If you could explain that process, and then what can they expect when they get to your facility, which is a beautiful facility, and there's so many wonderful things that you do for veterans there.
So it's pretty simple. So the only requirement that a veteran has to have is that they need to be enrolled within the Miami VA facility. They have to have a primary care physician. They need to be seen at the either the clinic or the hospital. They do have to have a social worker or a primary care physician. They will tell the primary care physician, I'm interested in adult daycare services, or they can find us on Google or any of our social medias, or they can simply stop by our facility and we'll get in contact with their primary care physician and tell them that they're interested. They will conduct an evaluation and put in the consult. When that consult is put in place, the veteran can start attending the facility. It is a pretty simple process. We can check veterans' eligibility right on the spot. We have a portal designed for our program that we can check the eligibility of that veteran.
And then once they are able to use, I mean, you have a lot of, there's breakfast, lunch, you have free transportation
Free
to and from?
transportation, yeah. So we serve all of Miami-Dade County. As right now we only have one facility because we just got this program approved. I want to say 2 months ago officially. It was approved by the Miami VA, and I mean the program has been around for a while. It's just there has never been any facilities that have taken on the program. So we came in, we're taking over the program. We've taken over the program, and we're hoping to expand to other facilities. But right now, we're only serving Miami-Dade County. That's all over the county. We're in South Florida, more in the Homestead area, but we can pick them up anywhere in the Miami-Dade County. We provide our transportation, so we'll pick them up at their home or where they're located. We'll take them to a facility. We'll provide breakfast, lunch, and snack. And then we'll take them back home around 2:30, 3 in the afternoon, depending the time their activities are over.
And you are a member of the Elks. You are a
Yes.
member of the same lodge as Rick Del Vecchio and Captain Fred.
Yes.
And Mary, this is a wonderful, wonderful thing for our veterans. And Rick Gathen, this is a wonderful thing for our membership out there to know about, even in South Dade County. I don't know if this goes on. Mary, are there facilities like this all over the country for our vets?
There are facilities like this. This sounds like a particularly impressive one, but the VA and many nonprofits do provide these services in different areas.
Well, I want to put you two in touch. That's why I wanted you on today, because I want you two to work together. And Mary wants me to, once I officially join, I don't know if the Elks are going to let me join anymore. I really don't know. Rick Del Vecchio keeps telling me it's an iffy possibility. But once he does, I'm going to take on my shoulders some of the veteran stuff with Rick, and I'm going to be working closely with this young lady here, and we're going to work on getting veterans to know what can we do, guys, to let the veterans in Dade County know about this. What more can we do as people who care about them? Rick Del Vecchio, what can we do?
I deal with a woman named Michelle Zielinski. She handles the female veterans program out of the VA, and I will get her in touch with Katiria as well. And then LaShawn Black handles the males from the VA hospital. And they service, between the two of them, almost 3,000 homeless veterans in Dade County.
Wow.
And they have a facility, the men do, that they got 1,157 people living there right now.
I think this is so fantastic. When Rick first brought it to me, and I said, "Oh, we've got to get her on the program because this is something I want Mary Morgan to know about because it's so important." If you know Mary Morgan, you know it. You know Rick Gathen, you know it. I mean, these people are they are behind everything for our veterans and stuff like that. You know how many veterans are homeless every day in America? It's over 60,000, and that's dropped since 2011. And they have a multitude of problems and issues, and that's what we need to get past. And here's a question for all of you. Do you think that because the battles are over, the war is over and everything, and Captain Fred, this is one in particular for you, do you think that we forget about our veterans too easily once the battles and wars are over with, and we go, oh, well, that's yesterday, they were there, and okay, I'm moving on with my life?
Let me tell you something. If you're going to send an 18, 19-year-old boy to fight a war in some other country, you better be prepared to take care of that man when he gets back. You know, a lot of people don't realize that these guys, the ones that were killed in action and this and that, you know, they got no more worries. The pain is with the guys that come back because they're struggling with everything. The suicide rate today with the young veterans that coming in from Afghanistan, Iraq, it's unacceptable. We got to do something to help these people. Thank God the Elks and other organizations provide access to different things that they can take advantage of. And we need to explore that. When I go to the different lodges, I usually make sure that veteran's head gets in touch with the PTS center, the homeless shelter, and get whatever their needs are. And hopefully we can get volunteers to help out, contribute, and even something simple as a pair of socks for some of these guys because they don't have it. And when I go through a bus stop and I see a guy with a grocery cart sitting there with all his belongings, it tears me up.
Yeah,
and it's unacceptable. This country's better than that.
Rick Gathen, do we, in the membership of the Elks, would you say that a large portion of the membership are veterans?
I would say that a large portion is. We don't track specific things like that. The lodges can put down whether somebody's a veteran or not, and we don't run a lot of reports that way. I would tell you that after World War II and some of the back then, I would say a great number were. Back after World War II, the veterans were welcomed into the lodges as part of getting their ability to come back home and get their foundation back up in their neighborhoods and do something great for their communities and help other veterans. I don't, Mary. I don't know that we track right now whether they're a veteran. I know that the lodges can mark that in under the application.
Yes, we don't keep formal statistics. There are estimates that it is as much as 40% of our membership as veterans, but that could be higher. Some veterans don't choose to identify as veterans in their paperwork. I certainly know that the volunteers that run so many of our programs are veterans or members of families with veterans in them as well. And veteran or not, there's a huge dedication. Our members really feel passionate about serving veterans.
Yeah, the one thing I love about the Elks, and when Rick Delvecchio brought it to my attention a couple of years ago, is it's sort of like the motto that we had in the military, and that is we never leave anybody behind. When I was in Vietnam, we didn't leave anybody behind. My job was search and rescue. I went in. If there was a pilot that still needed to be brought up, I went in after him. That's how I got shot down a couple of times. It's all, nope, everybody keeps bothering me. At any particular rate, we don't leave anybody behind. And that's what I love about the Elks. You don't forget, you don't leave anybody behind. You make sure veterans are taken care of, which brings me to my first. Mary, let's talk about the Elks Emergency Assist Program. I know you work closely with the VA on this. So talk about that and how veterans can be assisted with this program.
Yes, so we run the Elks Emergency Assistance Program in 8 cities. We're expanding to 4 more cities in the next year. Those are the cities that the VA has identified as the places with the number of highest veterans experiencing homelessness. And so we partner directly with social workers in all of those cities to provide emergency assistance to veterans. And we assist with rent, we assist with security deposits, we assist with utility payments, and occasionally we assist with other emergency requests. And veterans can apply for up to $2,500 in assistance through their social worker. They'll send us the information and then we'll pay their bill directly. So even though veterans can apply for up to $2,500, the average amount of assistance we tend to give out is a little over $1,600. It's $1,638. And veterans are welcome to apply for all the funds that they need, but we find that veterans are very thoughtful about only applying for what they need. And this is one of my favorite programs that we run. Sometimes it's just the small amount of assistance at the exact right time that can mean the difference between a veteran becoming homeless or being able to exit homelessness. Oftentimes they'll have benefits and employment that will pay their rent moving forward, but they might be required to put down a security deposit of 1 or 2 months rent. And if they can't come up with that, that's a huge barrier. And we're able to step in and say, we can provide that for you and get a veteran stably housed, and they can take care of what they need moving forward, and they stay in close contact with their social workers, so they have ongoing support. It's a remarkable program, and I feel lucky to work with these social workers, and thanks to our Elks who donate, we're able to step in and provide that service.
Well, this is something, Mary, that I want to get involved in once I join and I get my butt down in Miami. If Mr. Delvecchio will ever get me down to Miami, he keeps telling me, no, there's a wall up, you can't come in. Rick Gathen, people who want to join the Elks, veterans, who need assistance, who need help, all they needed to do is go to one of our lodges and
actually it'll be easier than that. We have a new recruitment website. It's called join.elks.org. They can fill out some information and it goes right to the local Elks Lodge. And we have a 97% success rate contacting people and and try to assimilate into the order.
Mhm.
And with that, when we're training people on orientation, when they get them for the lodges, our two primary focuses are, as an Elks organization, are veterans and the youth. The youth has many different types of committees, as you know, from the hoop, the scholarship, drug, but the veterans program is one that is deeply an emotional journey for an Elk. Once they help a veteran, it warms the soul, it warms the heart, and they never leave our organization. They know that it's such an important work, and they become closer to the veterans. They know that the Elks do a great job, and we can do so much more to help them. So when we do get them in the door, the opportunities to help those veterans and the opportunity for them to feel, have a wonderful feeling that they are making a difference in their community for the veterans. It's just a great opportunity for us. So we do try to, when they come in the door, we try to get them active in either the veterans or for the betterment of our youth.
And there's nothing more warming and loving for a veteran to feel wanted, loved, cared for, because and Captain Jaca, you can attest to this, and any of you can attest to this. I can. I was homeless once in LA. I was homeless. I didn't have any money. I lived in my car. It's a terrible feeling. It's a horrible feeling that nobody cares about you. The police want to move you along, and nobody cares. People look at you like, what's wrong with you? And they don't seem to understand. Mary, once someone is a member and they are in a lodge and the assistance program kicks in, talk about some of the variables of the program. I know you mentioned the amount of money that they can get, and veterans are so kind and realize, I'll take what I need, and because somebody else might need some as well. Talk about some of the stuff else that goes on with this program, the assistance program.
Sure. So as I said, we partner directly with the social workers to help these veterans either stay housed or exit homelessness. And after that, after we connect with the veteran, we make sure that they know that they have the support of the Elks Lodge. We have a welcome home kit program, so that for many veterans, when they are exiting homelessness, they move into a new apartment and they don't have anything. And so we have a funding program available where our local lodges can purchase beds, they can purchase dishes, they can purchase sheets, linens, cooking supplies, everything that a veteran needs to, really make that new place a home and feel stable and supported moving forward. And oftentimes our volunteers stay in touch with those veterans after that as well. Make sure they're invited to the lodge for Veterans Day events, make sure that they are aware of the support that we have in terms of Thanksgiving food baskets or other ongoing events. We want to make sure that those veterans know that they have the Elks community behind them afterwards. And so we need all sorts of volunteers to stay in touch with those veterans and make sure that they know that the Elks are there for whatever needs they might have.
Yeah, and Rick Del Vecchio, that's where you come in, the local lodge, with some of the events that you throw throughout the year. And I know what you do for veterans down there in Miami, and what's going to be happening, and for Captain Fred. So talk about some of that, Rick, on a local level, what you guys do from what Mary said with the welcoming committee. And then we're going to talk about Adopt a Vet, which I think is kind of cool, because I'm an adopted kid and I could be adopted even at my age again. So, but Rick, talk about that a little bit, would you please?
Well, the Elks have a grant program, and like I said, we just got approved for what was called a Beacon grant and a Spotlight grant combination for $5,500. And we're going to work with Katiria, and Fred and I are going to work with her, plus the VA, and put on some local events and supply them with toiletries, socks, underwear, food, and shampoo, and so on. But that, we write these grants a couple times a year. Get done with this one, I'm going to go after the gratitude. But Fred, they're quiet, but every week he's at the VA, 1 or 2 days a week, bringing, because we have a box to drop off toiletries, things like that. They're always in need. It's great that we get a big shot of $5,000 or $6,000 or $10,000, which you've got, and have a big event. But it's not just that one time a year or 2 times a year.
Mhm.
Every day, our members bring products that are needed into the local chapters, and guys like Fred bring it down to the VA. And Fred, you can talk about that. He goes down there 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah, Fred, talk about that, Captain Fred. Talk about that volunteer work that you do and other veterans do at this lodge, and I'm sure they do throughout all the lodges out there. By the way, just a quick reminder, Gary Allen here on Main Street. We have members of the Elks Club joining us here today, not only from national headquarters in Chicago, Mary Morgan, Rick Gathen, Rick Del Vecchio, Fred Jaca, Captain Fred Jaca, who was an airborne ranger, and Katiria, who is an owner of an absolutely wonderful daycare facility that we are going to talk more about before this program ends. And we're talking about veterans and what we can do for them and what we can do for you. And let us know how we can help your lodges throughout the country. Please let us know what we can do for you. We need to help our vets. Okay, Captain Fred, talk about the volunteer work you do down there at Lodge 1676.
Well, basically, as the VA rep for the Miami VA hospital, I go around to the different lodges. I get a stipend from the state and from national purchasing toiletries and items of need. I usually get with the directors of the PTS center as well as the homeless shelter, and they give me a list of things that they need. And you'd be surprised how simple those lists are, but at the same token, the need is tremendous. These guys really don't have much to carry on, or whatever they got on their backs is what they have. I normally buy gift cards specifically for, McDonald's or Wendy's, so that they'll have something to give them when they go to these centers, to have something to eat. And lately I've had a special request to get gift cards from like Publix, so that if they have family members, they can purchase items, so long as it's not liquor, to feed their families. There's nothing more gratifying than going to a center and meeting someone there and seeing desperation that you see in their faces with the items that they need and are looking for. There's a tremendous need. We get a lot of people that volunteer to turn in equipment, turn in clothes that I take down there. And whenever I go to the different lodges in the South District, from Dade County to Monroe County, which encompasses 5 different lodges, I encourage them to get with the local uh, PTS centers and homeless shelters to see what they can do to support these centers, because the need is tremendous. You don't realize it until you go in there and see it. And you, as a prior veteran, as prior homeless person, you know what that's like. You know what I mean? And there's no excuse for being left unattended. And
No.
it's sad because you see it every day. You can go to any street corner, any bridge, any yard, any woodlands area, and you're bound to find 1 or 2 veterans in there, or more. And it's our duty to make sure that we get them the help. The Elks has the Army of Hope that we can help active duty guys with special needs, especially if they're deployed. The Elks Foundation has numerous programs that we can capitalize, and it's just a matter of applying for them, getting the grants, and you'll be surprised what you can do with little monies. And sometimes you'll get some of these vendors to help you out, either by a reduced rate or possibly giving you items that they can just give out that they just can't get rid of,
Yeah.
that these guys could use. There's a tremendous need. You have no idea the need that's out there for these guys. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. And unless you've been through that, and unless you've seen it, and I'm sure most of us have seen them at street corners, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it's
Yeah,
tremendous that we can do this. It
and
really is.
it's not only the vets themselves, Mary, but it's also their families. Many of these men and women are married, and even though they're homeless, their families are struggling, or when they're off to serve their country. Back home, there's a wife or a husband left behind with 2 or 3 kids, and the pay is not great, and they're living from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, and it's just terrible. I mean, I don't know what we can do. I mean, short of going to Congress and the Senate and asking for more money, which what that's like. But what about the families now when it comes to the Elks? Because we're going to get to adopt the veteran in a minute, but what about the families that are left behind while they're off serving, or if someone is homeless and they have a family somewhere? What needs to be done there?
Yeah, so that's a great point. I mean, a lot of these veterans, even the veterans who are experiencing homelessness, a lot of times they'll be homeless along with their children. And so our assistance program and our welcome home kits will end up benefiting more than just the veteran themselves, but also, often their young children. And we provide them with beds and often school supplies as well. So you're really supporting a whole family there. And many of our Elks lodges also have strong ties to local National Guard units and to military family organizations in the community. And all of our grants can be used to assist military families as well. We're not just a strictly veteran service organization. We definitely include military members and their families in that level of support.
Yeah, and I know we're going to get into it before the end of the program about the educational grants that can be had as well for some of these people. Let's talk a little bit about, and whoever wants to discuss this, adopt a veteran. I love that. I'm up for adoption, so if anybody would like to adopt me, I'm open for it. Mary, if you want to talk about it, or Rick Gathen, if you want to talk about it, or Rick Delvecchia, whoever wants to talk about it, please open the floor, and we'll move forward. As you know, do any of the lodges do this? Can any one lodge do, like 1676 down in Miami? Can they adopt a veteran as well, or an individual?
Go ahead, Mary.
Yes. So this is a program that was particularly helpful over the last year and a half. But it's about connecting with veterans in your local community. It started when we were providing support at state veterans homes to veterans. A lot of times they might be living somewhere far away from their family who isn't able to visit. And what our members do is they provide that local support. They'll make sure to call a veteran on their birthday. They'll make sure to take them out into the community, you know, as often as they can, invite them to the lodge, make sure that that veteran has a connection. You know, we hear stories like this all the time. I talked to somebody about 2 years ago, and she was saying that she went down to her local state veterans home. They matched her with a veteran, and she started calling him and connecting with him. Before she came to visit, he hadn't had a visitor in over 7 years.
Wow.
And, you know, she really was able to draw him out and build that connection. And now they're great friends.
Katiria, and with your facility, besides the veterans and we'll get back to adopt a veteran, but this just entered my mind. Besides the veterans themselves, can their wives or children also, if they're signed up with the VA, can they come into your facility and have breakfast and lunch and partake in the facilities, or is it strictly for adults?
It's strictly for adults, mostly for the older veterans, more retired vets who are retired, who have the time in their hands to come to our facilities during the day, since we are open during the day. If the vet's working, they're unable to attend because they have to go to their jobs. So it's really unlikely that someone who is, you know, still civilian, not retired, to come to our centers. It's more for retired.
Okay. Yeah. Mary, getting back to adopt a vet, how does someone go about that? I mean, if you're a member of one of the lodges and you know of a vet, what is the procedure that someone needs to go through?
So it's a really adaptable program. So we recommend that people who want to get involved, they can call our office. We have instructional information online, as well as ideas shared with us by volunteers across the country. But you'd want to, you know, a good place to start is to visit your local VA or a veterans home or a local nursing home and ask them directly, is there somebody here who could use my support? And sometimes you have to build up that relationship. People are appropriately protective of the veterans in those facilities. But if you take the initiative to make that connection, it can have wonderful results.
Yeah, it probably can. Rick Gathen, how's membership going?
The recovery is just incredibly successful so far. We're pretty excited. We're at, you know, we felt that we had all the plans in place to have our membership respond and come back, but right now it's at a pace that we didn't see this much of a success coming. We're at this last report, we are at a 5.2 percentage pace, which is plus 39,311.
Great.
Which 10,000 of that it's like 10,300 are returning members that canceled the membership. We call them reinstatements from the previous year. So the rest are new. There are people. I say this when I'm out in the different conventions. I think karma of how we handled ourselves and our communities, particularly with the veterans, I think helped us get the people in our community saw us during COVID do things incredibly charitable and heartfelt. I often say that the politicians may have closed our Elks doors, but they never close our Elks hearts.
No.
Mary have wrote recently our press release, and she talks about everything we did in COVID, even though we couldn't get in those buildings, all the efforts we made, from food to iPads to, I mean, we just never stopped. We were at the doorsteps. We found ways to get in there. Again, they closed our doors, but they never closed our hearts. And I think our community saw that, and they're joining. Like I just remarkable, 55,000 new members in the first 6 months. We're going to hit the 60,000 new members added before sometimes next week, maybe earlier than that.
Wow.
This is our fastest pace of adding new members. Again, not just reinstatements. There's only 10,000. So our communities took notice. And, you know, is that karma or is that respect? How you handle yourselves during difficult times can really get recognition. Again, I really believe that people saw what we did for the veterans. So, Mary, you can speak to the your press release we put out recently. Gary, I know you saw it.
Yes, I did.
Just remarkable work.
Yeah, our volunteers did a great job of adapting. And Fred, you can certainly add some details about that. It was hard not to be able to hold many of our usual events, but we, still worked with our volunteers to provide the support that was needed locally. And Fred, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
It's funny that some of the things we just mentioned, most of us, especially the veterans that came back from any war, give or take which one it is, had a support system when they got back. They had family members that helped them. They had friends that would help them. A lot of these guys didn't have that support. No. And it's organizations like the Elks and others, don't get me wrong, there's other organizations that do some of this stuff, but it's imperative that we keep this thing going. These guys are in desperate need. These guys really need the help. And even though they'll probably tell you, I don't need it, ask their family members. I can assure you they'll tell you the truth if these guys have the effects of coming back from a war situation. The ones that didn't make it back, they got no more pain, but they do, as well as their family continues with that pain, and it lasts until the day to die. And it's important that we continue the support for them.
Fred, let me ask you something, because that brings up a very interesting point about the homeless veterans that we have in this country. And Mary and Rick and everybody, you can address this as you'd like. Do you think the fact that they're homeless, or they're going through a bad time, or that there's something going on? Because to be honest with you, it's what goes on between the ears that really scrambles your brain when you're in combat. That's the area that really is changed the most. Fred, do you think it's the fact that they're embarrassed to ask for help that holds them back from going to the Elks or going over here or admitting they need help?
I can tell you right now that when it gets to a desperate position, they'll come and ask for the help. But believe it or not, a lot of them don't want it. They're so traumatized and didn't get that support that they prefer to be by themselves. And you need to be very careful when you deal with these people, because you don't know what to expect from them. You follow me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a strange situation when you got a guy that's seen what he's seen, and then all of a sudden, you turn off the switch and you tell him, go back to some kind of normalcy, and it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
They might have left the combat zone, but I can assure you that combat zone did not leave them. And it's important that we realize as advisors, as supporters, or whatever we can do to help these guys out, because they really, really do need it. But you got to be careful at the same time.
As a matter of fact, Rick Del Vecchio, who's sitting right there, will tell you, Rick and I've known each other, 40 years now, Rick?
Something like that, yeah.
How many times have I talked about my time in combat?
Oh, nothing, never.
I never talk about it. I never bring it up. I was lucky enough to marry a young lady from Downers Grove, Illinois. Yes, Mary, I can see the smile on your face. And her first husband was a platoon leader, and he was there during the Tet Offensive. Now, when he came back, they divorced, and we met in Los Angeles. She was so vital in helping me, as Captain Fred just said. She was so vital in helping me get past the nightmares, the sweats, the chills. Because and Captain Fred, please hear. I think you'll agree with me. The greatest thing that a veteran feels his whole life is, why am I here? Why didn't I die?
Let me tell you something. I had a team of 11. There's only 4 of us alive. And let me tell you something. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about those guys. Not only, and I'm sure that people that are listening right now that were in a combat situation can attest to the fact that, you know, you can talk all the politics you want, but the only thing that you really cared about was the guys that were with you, behind you, in front of you, and on your sides. And that's all that was mattered. And when you lose someone like that, that takes a tremendous effect on you for the rest of your life. And you don't get over it.
No, you don't.
It's amazing.
I went over with an entire new unit into Pleiku, South Vietnam, well, South Central Highlands, and we were pilots and mechanics, and the choppers were waiting for us there. There was 245 members of that group, Captain Fred. Do you know how many of us are alive today?
Oh,
Four of them, and one of them just recently committed suicide because he couldn't deal with it anymore. And I'm gonna well up here a little bit, but we were kids. That's what people don't understand. You go into combat as a kid. You're 18, 19 years old. You're taught how to kill. You come home and you live with that guilt for the rest of your life, and that's what scrambles your brain besides what you see. And it doesn't matter. We don't ask each other in combat, are you an R or a D, an independent? Are you a conservative? We don't care. You watch my back, I watch your back, and we get home to our families. That's all that matters.
You know what, you made a point there that I really want to emphasize, the fact that when it comes to one veteran talking to another veteran, there's a brotherhood there that it's unexplainable. Even though they're not blood kin, there's a kinship there that whatever it takes, you know that person's going to have your back.
Yep.
And you do everything possible to make sure that you can take care of his back, because you never know. Life is short. And to be honest with you, I'm sitting here and I'm very grateful that I'm sitting here. And you ask yourself, could I have done this? Should I have done this? Why me and not him? You know what I mean? Those are the things that go through your mind.
Yeah.
When it comes to some of these guys and committing suicide, that's not the answer. They're not giving them the chance to try to get some kind of therapy and some kind of help to avoid those situations. And we're seeing it every day. 22 young veterans are committing suicide every day.
Yeah.
And that's, it's ridiculous. There have been more suicidal deaths in the last 10 years than in most of the wars that we've had since World War II. Yeah. And that's ridiculous.
Mary, is there anything we can do with the Elks, the lodges throughout the country, if we see somebody like this who's in trouble? And Rick Gathen, since you're in charge of membership and marketing, is there anything we can do on a local level, like Rick Del Vecchio's lodge? We see somebody who's in trouble. Is there a place we can send them? Are there places that we can send them and say they need help? Help these people.
Yeah, there is.
I would recommend the Veterans Crisis Line right off the bat. It's 1-800-273-8255. And make sure that you have information about that available. Reach out to people. They're open all the time. They've spent a lot of money in the last few years making sure that all of the calls that go there get answered.
Yeah.
And then
I'm so grateful, even though my wife had passed away after we were divorced, but I'm so grateful for that girl from Downers Grove. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been able to get through it. And that's what Captain Fred, that's what you're saying. Everybody needs somebody to help them to get through it. My dad helped me as best he could. My mom didn't understand. My brothers didn't. My one brother served, but he didn't serve in combat. And it's horrible. And I wonder sometimes if it's the pride. When I was homeless, I didn't know where to go. So here's my question to Mary and everybody. What do we need to do better, even though I'm not a member of the Elks yet, but although I feel it, and Rick Gathen, I hope you don't mind, I feel it. What can we do better to get the message out? We're here to help you. Rick?
Well, I think, go ahead,
Mary? Rick Gathen.
I think I'm going to speak on a membership standpoint. You see what Fred and Rick are doing, and yourself, everybody on this call, or everybody on they are spending time helping veterans in need, and I think they can continuously serving their brothers and sisters in arms through an organization like the Elks, and I think that would probably be very satisfying and healthy for them, and to be not only helping themselves but helping others through this organization. The more we have, the more reach we have, the more impact we can have on this community that deserves our time and respect.
Absolutely. Mary, you were going to say something?
I was going to say, I think you brought up a great point. You said when you were homeless, you didn't know where to go for help. I think, Fred earlier was talking about how he makes sure that when he visits lodges that they know, here's the housing crisis line, here's the veterans crisis line. You can go to vet centers, you can go to VAs, and don't be afraid to ask people how they're doing. If you think somebody is struggling, don't be afraid to reach out and say, I'm worried about you. Let's find you some help.
Yeah. And Mary, I know that the last time you were on the program with me here on Main Street, we're talking about Veterans Day and how we can get help out to our veterans. And I know, Mary, you said once I join, I'm going to work very closely with you in South Florida to get information out there. And I'm going to probably be bugging you all the time because I come up with ideas. Rick Del Vecchio will tell you that point blank. I come up with ideas on how to help people. I like to solve problems and I like to help people. I'm going to go to Katiria's place and I'm going to volunteer a couple of days a week if I can and help there with the veterans and get them acclimated and get them going, because it's not just the guys from Iraq and Iran, it's Vietnam, and there's very few World War II veterans left. I mean, my dad's generation is pretty much, I forget what the rate of passing is every day. But Mary, I'm going to be, you and I are going to be talking at least once a week, every week, once I get to South Florida and I get down there. That's if Rick Gathen will allow me to join the Elks. I'm not sure that he will, but at any particular rate. Okay, one thing that I really want to get into is the grant programs, Mary and Rick Gathen, and Rick Del Vecchio, if you know about this too. What about the grant programs, the educational programs for the siblings, or rather, the children of some of our veterans, to help them keep moving forward as well? For educational grants and stuff.
Sure. So there's two separate programs that you mentioned there. The Elks have a very big, popular, competitive scholarship program. We have the Most Valuable Student Scholarship, open to any high school student in the country. We have the Legacy Scholarship, open to the children and grandchildren of Elks members. And we have an emergency educational grant for the children of Elks members who have passed away or who have a disability that prevents them from working, all to support them and have them give them the chance to attend college. And then outside of that, we have a huge community investments program whereby we offer funding to local lodges to address issues in their community. And the vast majority of those grants go to serve veterans, children, and to address community issues like hunger. Rick Del Vecchio, you were talking about your grants earlier, your Beacon grant and your Spotlight grant. You were able to connect with Katiria and figure out, like, these are our local needs. This is what we should use these grant funds for.
Yeah, for sure. And also, in addition to the veterans last year during COVID, we fed, I think, 300 families on 2 different occasions with different grants. I'm going to mess up the grants. One was gratitude. I think we used a Beacon grant last year for that too. And we teamed up with the Metro-Dade Police Department and the South Miami-Dade Police. And we also, of course, our lodge, one way we survive is we rent our ballroom space, we rent our meeting space, and we rent to a church, and we rent to a company called Branches. It's a nonprofit organization where they have like a daycare center for children, and then they also help teenagers in education, and they help their parents learn how to handle financial books and whatnot. Well, we got both those organizations involved with those grants, and they provided manpower to help us pack all this food and then distribute it, through churches, the churches that they're involved in. So, I call them community partners, and they're very important because in regards to the church, they pretty much match the amount of money that we got from the ENF and through their congregation, and we were able to help that many more people just by hooking up with people that we do business with now anyway. So
Yeah.
community partners are important, just to give more money out to everybody, and they help with the veterans as well. When we had a focus grant last year for $10,000, that was all for the veterans, and when we packed we had about 15, 16, packed like 40 boxes, about food each for the female veterans at Thanksgiving. Then at Christmas, we had 140 boxes to pack. The church showed up with like 20 teenagers, and we just sat back and watched them pack everything. It was done in like 3 hours, but so it's very helpful to get partners just to expand the amount of money that you can get to help people locally. And like I said, all these Elks National Foundation, that money is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Nationwide.
Mary, what do we got coming up for 2022 with the Elks and Veterans Affairs and programs that maybe some of the lodges out there are not aware of yet, but are coming down the road?
Absolutely. Well, we're hoping to expand the Freedom Grant program to allow even more funds to go to different and more lodges to serve veterans in their communities and really build those local relationships with people like Katiria to serve veterans in the community. We're going to continue to expand the Focus Grant program that Rick mentioned, which is a grant program focused on veterans who are experiencing homelessness or helping veterans exit homelessness. And we're hoping to expand the emergency assistance program as well. We're looking forward to, as some volunteer restrictions end, getting our voluntary service representatives like Fred back into VA facilities so we can, do our work of connecting with veterans and serving them directly where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Criteria, I want to make sure that everybody is aware of. And by the way, Rick Gathen just sent me a note. The Southern District of Florida has grown by 11.3% in this past year. That is good news. That is excellent news. Criteria, go ahead, Rick. In 6 months. Wow.
Yeah. So the work that you're doing it speaks to volumes of it's attracting people in. The national average is 5.4% or 5.6%, and where you are, you're more than double.
Wow. Oh, that's fantastic. Criteria, I want you to talk about the facility and how veterans can find out about it, and how like I said, I'm going to put you in touch with Mary this up next week, and I also have to send Mary a University of Miami hat. Just to be on the nasty side. But anyway, I want to put you two in touch. But Criteria, talk about your facility, and for veterans out there and for lodge members that are listening in South Florida, please pay attention to this and how you can help veterans get into her facility.
Yeah, I'm going to give the phone number. So if anybody wants to reach me, my number is 786-445-3446. You can reach me if you're interested or if you want to learn more about the program that we didn't talk about here. So we kind of went over eligibility. The veteran has to be seen at the local VA. There has to be a referral in place for them to attend our facility. But we provide transportation to and from our facility. We provide breakfast, lunch, and snack. We also do games, mental simulations, trying to get them together. We do therapy. We also have, we try to get someone to come in and try to give us suicide prevention tips, as well as educational programs we have. We try to bring somebody always in the community to try to just educate us on how to best help them. We also do arts and crafts. We do music classes, just try to get them as distracted as we possibly can throughout their day so that they're happy while they're here, and then we can go back home in the afternoon once our activities are over. We also we do provide haircuts for the veterans. So yeah, free of charge, nothing. It's all of our programs are free of charge for the veterans. There is no copay or any of that sort. So we do provide haircuts for them as well. So something that a lot of vets are interested in. And so we're just trying to really just get the word out to the community, because not a lot of veterans still know of this program because it's pretty brand new.
Yeah. Rick Gathen just sent me a thing. For those of you that are interested in joining the Elks, it's join.elks.org. And it's the webpage, right, Rick Gathen? And they can find out all the information they can. Or I guess if nothing else, they could always call their local lodge, wherever they are, like 1676, and they could probably give them some information there too. And this is a great organization, folks. I'm telling you, the people there with the Elks, Mr. Del Vecchio has been my friend for many, many years, and and everything that they do, and Mary and Rick Gathen, this is just, fantastic. And we need to do more for our veterans. As Captain Fred said, there are other organizations that do, so the Elks are not the only ones, but we want to do more. We want to get out there. And when I get my little butt home back to Miami, I plan on really energizing the situation down there, and getting things going with the welcome baskets and everything that Mary has talked about. And she said that she wants to put me to work as soon as I get there. So I look forward to that very, very much. But I want to thank all of you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us. Mary, thank you so much. Rick Del Vecchio, Fred, Captain Fred, Rick Gathen, Katiria, thank you so very much for taking the time. Listen, you're going to be seeing me, Katiria. You'll be seeing me. I'm going to volunteer if I can, come down and help out as best I can. And Mary, I will contact you next week one day. I'll call you, leave a message, and you can buzz me back, and we'll talk about this, because I want to put you two together, and I want to talk about some other things. And I thank you all so much. Rick Gathen, thank you for making this happen. Rick Del Vecchio, thank you for helping me put this all together. This has really been fantastic. I'm talking so fast. And I just want to thank you all so much. And we're gonna kind of stay where you are. I'll talk to you after the show is over. But one thing I just want to, one thing I want to thank all of you out there so much for taking the time to join us this week on Mainstreet as we talked about our veterans. Please pass it on. This show will be up on YouTube in a couple of days. Join my fill-in host next week. In a couple of weeks, the teeth and everything will be back in, and I'll be back right on target. But until that happens, Jeffrey Mark will be joining you the next 2 weeks with his guests. I think Anson Williams is going to be his guest next week. I'm not sure, from Happy Days. I'm not sure. But anyway, thank you so much. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.